What's up, nerds?
All right, what's up, nerds? Goz Master here with another Magic the Gathering puzzle quest. Today's quest, the top 10 Mono Walkers for 2025. Let's get right into the rankings here. As I said before, I've gone through an evaluative process. I've played a lot with each one of these Mono Walkers, and I've got my top 10 list here, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you didn't get your feathers ruffled by the last video I already put out, get prepared. They're going to happen here. All right, number 10, Goz Master of Flowers.
What's up,
I give him a
nerds?
B and a B minus. And the reason I like Grandmaster of Flowers is for several different reasons. He's on brand, number one. Come on, you can't argue with that. He gets an A minus to his life ability, life total. It's good life total. His passive ability is a little weak. Aura of Courage, alignment white. Your first creature gets +1/+1. It gets a slight buff. Nothing major. It's hardly worth mentioning, but it is some points basically to the total. Ability number one, though, is really what it's about. Platinum scales for 7 loyalty. Draw a card. If that is a creature card, that creature gains +4/+4 and gains lifelink and vigilance. What? Otherwise, it gets 7 mana and you draw another card. So let me get this straight. If it's a creature, I give it lifelink and vigilance, and +4/+4 immediately becomes a beast of a creature that's hitting the board, right? But if it's not a creature, it gains 7 mana, and then I draw another card on top of that. So I'm essentially drawing 2 cards if it's not a creature. So the third card could be a creature, or the second card could be a creature, and I get additional benefits from that. It's just amazing. This is an amazing first ability for 7. Some draw, and if it's not a creature, that card gains 7 mana, and you get a second card. It pumps up your creatures a bit, and if they have prevent damage, like Phyrexian Vindicator, it basically becomes a life-gaining wall of death. This is an excellent first. A minus. So good. Ability 2 is a bit of a whiff for me. Way of the Open Hand. Create a Monk of the Open Hand token, then increase its level by 1. 4 times, increase your non-spell card's level by 1. So the Monk itself is an Open Hand white creature. Elf Monk 1/1. It's got token level. When you cast your second card each turn, increase this card's level by 1. But again, when I'm triggering it, I'm bumping it up by 4 times. It's happening right away. Here's why all of that verbiage and trickery matters. It's kind of overworded. When this card's level is increased, reinforce this creature. So it gets another bonus. It becomes another 1/1 or whatever. Then disable target opposing creature without double strike, first strike, or vigilance until the beginning of your next turn. This effect can trigger up to 3 times per turn. As long as this card's level is 7 or more, this creature then gains double strike. Most of that is good. The big downside to this and why it's kind of not functional to use is anything with double strike, first strike, or vigilance. Most of the creatures you want to deal with on the other side, especially if it's in white, have vigilance or first strike or something. Danitha, Phyrexian Vindicator, etc., etc. You got a bunch of different stuff that has that. Vigilance is kind of a big thing right now. Against green, sure, you're fine, and then you can disable that creature. It's not that big a deal, but it'll miss oftentimes when you need it to hit. The Monk is okay. That double strike, first strike, vigilance clause, though, really whiffs on the creatures you're most trying to hit at times. So because of that, I rarely use this, especially now with the meta having so many more options in white to deal with the board. I only ever use this if I have no other choice. Requisition Rate is kind of a must card in white now. Ability number 3, though, is really good. Platinum Dragon for 21 loyalty. Target creature's base power and toughness becomes 7/7, i.e. token weenies. Then reinforce it. That creature gains first strike, flying, and vigilance. It gains a dragon and god subtypes. Are you a god? Yes. Yes, I am. This, for 21 loyalty, takes your nicest token stack, bunnies, ox, soldiers, angels, etc., and makes them full-fledged blocking minor deities, and that just feels right. And if that creature happens to have lifelink or prevent damage, you got yourself a bona fide wall of goodness to carry you across the finish line. Solid ability if you can avoid the removal that Greg has stored in hand, because again, very few things in white have haste. Aurelia, the Law Above, you're going to get sick of me saying that in white. She is absolutely one of the best cards for mono white and even red, mono white and mono red, and white and red. She's just a go-to creature. She does so much for you. Absolutely a card you want to be running with this. Her mono bonuses are an A+, +5, +4, and +3, so A+ there. I think this might be one of my favorite mono spreads. I love this approach. Your Prime Colors tops out at 5. Your 2 others get 4 and 3. Yeah, they're never wanting for mana, especially with a Citadel pump. And then deck slots, only a C. This is where it is. This is the only other criticism I have on this Walker is the spell slots. It needs at least 2 more to make it a viable player with all the great spells available to white right now. But as it is, it's serviceable. But many times I've had to trim a spell or 2 that I'd prefer to have handy in important events, which keeps me from playing her in events that way because of it. She's a lot of fun. She's a fun Walker, not necessarily one that I would go out there and rely on if I have to. There's a better Walker, which you'll see at the top of the list here in just a second. All right, all that said, Fun factor, A-. It's a lot of fun to see done what's going on. I give her an overall B+ and a B-. Normally you see I give them a B+ for the veteran grade and then a B-, like a whole grade level lower for noobs. Noobs, it would be a C. In this case, it's a B- because she is so versatile and she can basically pump up any creature, especially a token stack, into something significant, or he can do that significantly faster. It's me, Goz Master Flowers.
What's up, nerds?
This is the reason why I like him so much. He's very flexible, very powerful. He does a lot of great things, and as a result, he's pretty reliable in a pinch. There's still others that are better, which we will talk about now. But if you have the other ones, he might be the right one to pick up for you. All right, let's get into my number 9 slot. You ready?
Let's talk about our 9th one, and this is a bit of a cheat. I'm going to actually throw Red Walkers in here. There's a couple of Red Walkers that I think have the same grade and that fit into this slot. I'm not going to count them as 9 and 10. I'm just going to count them as 9, and they are interchangeable. And there's going to be Chandra, Hope's Beacon, which is newer, so she's probably not available in this sale or at the time of you're watching this in the future. If you're watching this in the future and she becomes available at a discount, you'll see exactly where I rank her in comparison to the others, and the other is Jaya, Ballard. Now, I know many of you guys would say, well, Jaya, who is it, Fiery Negotiator, should actually be in this slot. I could see them interchanged. It depends on where they are. Again, it's the mana bonuses that just really throw it off for me. So that's the reason why I don't really include Negotiator this high. Ballard, though, on the other hand, does get some other stuff that's going on with it, but you'll see why I limited her. She's actually normally one of my higher ranking Red Walkers, just not here. But let's start with Chandra, Hope's Beacon, because I actually prefer her over Ballard. All right, so for this life total, Chandra, Hope's Beacon, I'm just going to call her Bacon going forward. She's got a C in life. Like, again, come on, Webcore, this is you guys. 110, 115 at least for Monocolor Walkers. I don't understand why you guys do that. Her passive ability is an A. This is such a good passive ability. So it leans into Expend, and I know that Expend may not be one of your favorite mechanics, but it actually is pretty good. When you cast a card with mana value equal to or higher than a card, expend value, the card's expend value, for the first time during your turn, you trigger the expend effect. So this is 9. So that means anytime you cast a card that casts 9 or more, essentially this triggers. You only get to do it once per turn. That's my only criticism to it. Essentially destroy a block of 3x3 gems. If you got activated gems, if you got a mana field or support triggers on board, cool. Hit them nearly every turn-ish with this ability. I love this. It's fantastic. I give it an A ranking. It's up there. It's really, really solid. Now, ability 1 really leans into that and works synergistically with it. Honestly, these are the only 2 that you need, and she gets you all the mana you need going to it. So it's simple. 7 loyalty, create 4 combustion flame tokens, and the combustion flame tokens look like this. And the combustion flame token is when you expend, destroy the support. So you just destroy it. When this support is destroyed, gain X mana. So even if you don't trigger it on your turn and your opponent does it, they see it and go after it with their support removal. Nice. Then when this support is destroyed, gain X mana. X is the number of red gems on the board. Think about that. Now, if you're doing red conversion, if you have VCOTH, which I strongly encourage in this, if you're running cryptics and you're actually getting some more red gem conversion in addition to that, then you should have a good 7 to 10 red gems on board pretty much at any given time. No matter when this is destroyed, it's getting you that mana in hand. It's brutal. It's really, really good. Really good at giving you more mana in hand when you can cast a card that costs 9 or more from each turn. I just wish it did a little extra instead of just once per turn. That's my only criticism to it. That would make it worth the 7. As it is, I'd love to see it as a 5 or a 6, but again, meaningless of the bigger scheme of things. It just works. So not a lot of criticism at it other than I'd like to see it just a hair shorter or cheaper and maybe have it be 2 shield instead. And when the shield is gone or when it loses a shield and when it's destroyed, then have it count that way. But whatever, I'm splitting hairs. It's fantastic. I love it. Absolutely should use it. Her secondary ability, a little bit lower. Intensive Heat is 9 loyalty. Deal X damage to the first opposing creature. X is the greatest mana cost among spell cards in your graveyard. Okay, I'm not a fan of damage things, and I know that that's Red's thing, so okay. This is more of a pet peeve and a preference than it is an actual criticism on the ability. But damage to an opponent's creature is not the best, especially if it's restricted to casting cost of the yard. So a double limiter there, and it's not necessary. So if you're running small spells for speed, this becomes even less functional. But for 9 loyalty, it's cheap enough that as long as you're not facing for like Phyrexian Vindicator or prevent damage creatures, you can use it to chip away at a Galta in your face. I'm sure they won't reinforce it next turn, right? So Again, creatures get too big too quick, and that's where this limits itself. So I rarely use the second one unless I'm in a pinch or it's early game and somehow I've done some stuff that puts things in the yard quick enough for me. Maybe I'll play it. All right, so ability 3, let's just get right into it. Skyfire, 18 loyalty, create 4 fiery reclamation tokens. The reclamation tokens look like this. When you cast a card that costs 9 or more for the first time during each turn, deal X damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. X is equal to that card's cost. Then this support loses a shield. This is actually really great, except for one freaking piece. Man, if only this didn't have first time each turn. Why? Why would you put that in there? I don't get why it has to be limited. It's not easy to loop in mono red, and even if it was, who cares? I'd love to do more than just once a turn with this bad boy. Even 3 times would be good enough. It's decent, but at 18 cost of admission, it's too steep a price to rely on for a win, which makes it more of a win more ability. Something when you have so much loyalty from your first ability and your passive ability, you can just throw these on the board and they're just there. So that's the key. Yes, this can still do some significant damage if you're doing like ill-timed explosion or something of that nature that is a bigger casting cost to run out, but it's only once per turn, and you'd really prefer to get that last 20 or 40 even life totals away from Greg as quickly as possible with this. Again, solid, probably better for events because it's more controlled than some of the other red walkers that are hasty. But again, for me, you know me, I like to go fast. I want to go fast. Limits me, puts a throttle on my accelerator, and I don't ever like that. Now let's talk about deck slots. I give her a B. It's 6, 8, and 5. I think this is a great deal. I just wish it had one more support. Actually, we'll give this a B+ now that I look at it and I've actually had time to evaluate it. I did these first, so I might do some tweaking to these as we go along, reevaluating the rest of the field, but that is actually a B+. So in this case, it's one support slot too short for me, but a great walker for spell fill. Throw in a bunch of spells in there, and you've got everything you're looking for there for the most part. Her mana bonuses are an A+. Solid mana bonuses, and if you add Citadel, you're off to the races. It's -2 to white, -1 to blue, but 4 to black, 5 to red, 3 to green. These are really solid. I mean, even without Citadel, again, this is in that realm where you've got all the mana you can handle. It's excellent. Really, really well done. I enjoy her. Her passive, first, are pretty much all you need to run any deck you like in red. That's it. It's not as automatic as Fart Shaper, as I call Flame Shaper. Her passive ability for overall mana gain, you have to do a little bit more touching, but the best part about it is I get to reorganize my hand, and I get to control what mana hits my hand and in what order. She has very decent synergy in her second and third, but it really is all about spamming her first and watching the board go fall out. So I give her a B+ and a B. I don't give her a full grade reduction simply because her first and her passive are enough to run any red deck that you want, and those mana gains are fantastic. In red, again, this is me, you just need the first and the first ability and the passive abilities to work synergistically with your mana gains to go run your red decks, because red is all about winning fast. Her key cards, pretty straightforward. Dragonhawk, Vkoth, Cryptics, Really the Law Above, Torch of Witness, Chaos Warp, Pyromancer's Goggle, because you're going to be triggering that anyways. Demolition Field's great. Desolate Mire, Rakdos, Patron of Chaos. Connecting the dots, huge, 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 huge. I will go more into what key cards make these ones work so that you guys can see how that actually functions. So, and most importantly, you guys know if you have those cards, maybe a good chance to start considering getting these mono walkers if you're a newer player. So that's Chandra. All right, so to Jaya Ballard, the second slot here. Let's take a look at her. So Jaya Ballard has C+ in her life, only 108 life. Her passive ability doesn't have one, so that's also what keeps her a little bit lower on the spectrum, but it's really about the rest of her abilities. She's solid, as you can kind of look ahead here. So ability number 1 is 6 loyalty for great literature, great toast. Fetch the first spell in your library. The first spell in your hand gains 10 mana. All right, so this is sick. Of course, you're running a spell deck here. Of course you are. For 6 loyalty, I gain 10 mana, and that's any spell card first in my hand. So that's 20+ casting cost card that normally takes about 3 turns to fill. Nope. Let's get it out now-ish, maybe a turn or two. Now, my only knock here is I'd love to be able to select the spell I'm picking, but hey, with a mana exchange like that, I'll take it. It's an awesome first A+ all the way. Ability 2 is a B+ for Burning Books. It's 9 loyalty. If the last card in your hand is a spell, deal 8 damage to your opponent. If not, gain 4 mana. Discard a card, draw 4 cards. So either way, I'm discarding a card and I'm drawing 4 cards. So what any good mage wants are options. And here, Jaya gives us just that. Need a little extra mana for the first card in hand? You got it. Just put a non-spell card in the last position, you get it. Want to throw a permanent in the yard to bring it back with push-pull? No problem, do the same thing. Plus get 4 mana. Just need to punch that snarky looking Greg in the schnoz? Okay, it's petty, but here you go. Now argue that if you're really optimizing your build for spells, the first ability is probably a better way to go here, but reanimation effects are alive and well, and if needed here for push-pull, you just throw that card right in the yard with this ability, and you get to do it all for 9 loyalty, plus gain a little mana on top of that. So great exchange. I give it a B+. It's all about ability 3. Professional Destruction. For 15 loyalty, create a Major Professional Destruction token. And that token reads, Major Professional Destruction, support card emblem 4, token. Whenever you cast a non-copy spell, copy the first 2 spells from your library, they gain full mana. So you want to make sure you have room in hand to take advantage of these. You know I love full mana. And this is 2x full, so double the love. For just 15 loyalty, I get all the Chaos Warp, Blasphemous Axe, and over the top second handle per turn. And FYI, Flare of Duplication is a great card to duplicate with this ability from PM2. It's perfect here. And I get to do it every single time I cast a cheap non-copy spell. That's the trick. Finding spells, full mana, that you can cast that works in synergy to get this to loop if you want to. I'm all about this. This is absolutely an S tier ability. It always has been. It always will be. She's fantastic with that ability, and that's why she gets ranked as high as she does here for me. Now, her mana bonuses, they're 4 to blue and 5 to red with no minuses. Do you remember when this mana bonus used to be great? It is still good. I love to see a wider spread, though, now, and this is just a bit too narrow. I'm sure my tune will change when Citadel rotates out of Standard, but for the next couple of years, this is just meh to me. So be prepared for that. It's fine in a pinch. You don't have what you need on board. Red and blue are usually available. If you're facing Dakin, he's not going to touch red. If you're facing Grist, she's normally not going to touch blue. So you usually have some options there available for you, but we will see as things go along. Her deck slots are probably one of the best. They're perfection. Just 5 creatures, 8 spells. I could go for a 9th here, but plenty of room for a couple supports as needed. Excellent deck slots for what she is. I give it an A+ just because she doesn't have 9 slots for her specific build, but it's really, really good. You have pretty much all that you need with that. And the fun factor for me is absolutely an A. I mean, it's not even in question. Spells, more spells. If you just like casting spells, this is your mecca. Add your favorite and rock and roll. My only knock here, and this is more on the meta than anything else, not her as a walker. Red spells in Standard are just a little on the light side right now, at least in this in the rotating sets. PM2 and PMA have a couple of good ones. So she may climb back into the top 5 even once another few key red spells drop in the next few months in the next sets or two. So we'll see. Some of the key cards for her, Chaos Warrior, Pyromancer's Goggle, Connecting the Dots. Any spells that you want to run in here that are higher cost, absolutely want to throw them in. Creatures, Aurelia Law Above, Dragonhawk, Urabrask. You forgot about Urabrask. And then Captain Ripley Vance. I know she's more concentrated on spell or on supports, but her damage from the spell casting can make a big difference. Urabrask. Go look up Urabrask. Get that card, chase that card, because if you like casting spells, Urabrask is your bra. All in all, I give her a B+, and then the floor is a B for noobs, mid-level collectors with the key cards, in fact, or senior veterans that have pretty much all the cards. If you don't have her, you should get her. She's absolutely a fun walker, and that's the reason why I rank her and Chandra Hope's Beacon in the same category. Now, you may be arguing, why not have Jaya be higher ranked than Chandra? And the answer is what I just gave, the spell slots. Spells right now aren't as fantastic as creatures are. And Chandra is easier to get creatures out that win. And hasty and all that other stuff. Song of Tauntauns is a spell that gives haste to your creatures. Or if you're doing supports, you could use Flame Shadow's Conjuring to be able to give your creatures haste in red. And those lean more into supports and creatures, Connecting the Dots and some of the other creatures that are available, where Jaya is really reliant on spells. She needs spells, and there's just not enough gas in the tank right now for her to take a higher slot. Still phenomenal if you got the right cards. Now, what happens if you don't have Chaos Warp and those others? Again, that's why she gets relegated to where she is. And I did not change this record here, so I will do it now. There you go. Those are my Red Walkers. Those are the 9th slot. Let's talk about the 8th position. Liliana of the Veil. Now, as I look at this, I probably should be switching these out, shouldn't I? I think I'll do that now. I think these Red Walkers are better than Liliana of the Veil, so we're going to go retroactively. My Red Walkers just moved up a slot. They're in the 8th position. Liliana of the Veil goes back down to 9th. Let's see what we got here. Liliana of the Veil, 108 life, so she gets a C+ for her life total. passive ability is a C+. So let me give you my bias now. Power of the Veil reads, when a card enters your opponent's graveyard, you may lose 3 life. If you do, gain 3 loyalty. This effect can trigger only once per turn. I really dislike Lost Life as a passive ability, and although the loyalty gain is a nice ramp of your other abilities, which we're going to show here, which there are some really good ones, it's still one that I have a tough time swallowing without some way of making up the life in your other abilities. She doesn't have built-in life gain, which I'm not a fan of, so that means you have to put it in there. The real reason I'm saying that is because especially newer players or players that are on the grind all the time, if your walkers aren't staying near full health or having opportunities or chances or ways to get into full health, then you're using your healing potions in between matches, and that's not it. Then you run out of limiting where you can play with that and you can't grind a thing out. Okay, minor thing, but that's the way I prefer to play, and that's the reason why I'm not a big fan of that passive ability. Ability 1, a C- for Necromancer's Contempt. It's 8 loyalty. Each player discards the last card that can be discarded from their hand. Convert 3 gems to black. Convert 3 gems to loyalty gems. Okay, so why? Why would I want to ditch a card? Maybe I'm playing some Reanimator. Fine. Then I can control what goes there. Fine. But then we have card disadvantage. If I'm going to ditch a card, I want to get another card to replace it. More importantly, if I only have one card and I need to cast, why would I want that to go into hand? It makes this first ability unusable. So in limited situations, especially when I'm casting my hand and I'm not drawing new cards in, which happens often with her, that puts me in a position where I'm not able to reload my hand or to get the mana I need to continue to go along. Well, I got plenty of mana. I'm just not having any chance to get it done when I can't use this ability. Now, my abilities are to give me advantage, like with Jace Reawakened, or Jashiok, as I like to call him. I ditch a card, yes, but then I get good mana in return. This just converts 3 black or 3 loyalty. So maybe I get mana. Maybe I do enough on the board that I can make a match that I'm looking for. To me, that's pretty lame. Just convert the 6 to one or the other, or give me 6 mana and 6 loyalty. And at 8 to trigger, it's not an even exchange. It costs more than I'm getting back. It gives it a discount. I understand it's for the second use and third use. But in Monocolor Walkers, you really don't have that much time. Anyways, C- for this one. It's not really the ability. I can hear it in your guys' brains already. That's not why we play her. We play her for the other thing. I know. Let's talk about the other things. Uneven Sacrifice, 19 loyalty. Create 4 Curse of the Veil tokens. Target opposing creature gains Eminent Death. I don't like Eminent Death as a removal, especially against token-based creatures like Ajani and others. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But the Curse of the Veil token is really why you even play this walker. When a card enters your opponent's graveyard, your opponent loses X life. If that is a creature card, convert X gems to loyalty gems. Otherwise, so if it's any other card, convert X gems to black. X is this support's shield. Ideally, you're looking for black gems to convert, so you don't care if they don't ditch a creature because you want that conversion to happen on board. Now, okay, so number 1, the Curse of the Veil is solid. Great little combo maker that if your opponent is running a creature plus deck, will most likely spell good game loops of doom. But the X factor typically means you're converting less by attrition because of cascades matching the support. Okay, second, Imminent Death, as I said before, can be great if you're facing non-token creatures. If they got a stack that keeps getting bigger each turn, your second is pretty ineffective when you need to have a threat dead. My third point, finally, 18 cost. It feels like Greg can hit that in pretty much no time flat because of all his cascades, making this one of the most annoying walkers to face in the alley. But when I'm piloting her, man, does it feel like it takes forever to trick her second. So I know Cryptics and all of the mana ramp and all the other stuff, but by doing 2 or 3 cards in my build to increase that flow to get me to that point, man, it just feels like I'm wasting precious deck slots. I can do more than this. Again, I understand this is a good ability. I'm not going to say that it isn't. It's a B in this regard because of the removal faction, but absolutely that token is powerful. But let's get into our third. Because this is where everybody's like, but it's the third. Yeah. An end for all means. 25 loyalty. Create 4 Curse of the Veil tokens. Destroy up to 4 opposing cards with the greatest mana values. Your opponent discards the card with the greatest mana value that they can be discarded from their hand. Period. Okay. More of what we love in the Veil tokens, but is much better removal. Up to 4 of G's things, get them out of here. I like that. That's really good. And it targets the most expensive stuff, so maybe it doesn't remove everything for 25 loyalty. I would like it to remove everything, but fine and fair. We pray and hope that if there is another turn, that we've gained enough loyalty or black mana conversion that we're back up to our 3rd again, and we can just keep spamming that. That's pretty nice. And then all the shenanigans with the discard to make Greg go night-night. Fine, good, I like it. That said, at 25, you have to have some loyalty ramp where this can just take too long to get into in a pinch, making it one of the most expensive ults in mono black. Again, powerful, very powerful, but ooh, man, that's a lot of loyalty. Ooh, wow, that's a lot of loyalty. So, Curse of the Black Veil, again, you know what it reads. It works, it's good, it can loop. I'll tell you, one of the most frustrating things ever in an event is when you just don't get into the turn, because this girl can loop all on her own. If there's ever a place where a walker needs to get nerfed, at least for Greg's side of play, she can get out of hand really, really quickly. Now, I have built some decks for her that lean into some of her abilities on a lower scale, and they're disgusting. They work really, really well. I don't play them because I think they're unfair to other players if they match up against it, because they're creature focused first. And we all know Greg prioritizes creatures, and when those creatures come out, then they trigger the rest of what's happening. It's disgusting. So an A+ for that ability, for sure. Her mana bonuses are a B-. They get 3s across the board of blue, black, and red, nothing to the negative ones. Pretty base, no negatives, but no real buffs to black, which is what I'd prefer. I'd rather she has a 5 to black. That would make the rest of her abilities kind of work. I'm glad she doesn't have it, though, because A, it makes her unattractive to play with, so less people were playing with her if you do see those mana bonuses, but it would also make Greg just insanely OP, and that would be too much. So I think this is fair for it. It's still a B-, in my opinion, for mana bonuses, but I'm glad it's this way, frankly, because I don't want to see her in the streets. She is brutal. Deck slots, I give her an A+. She's got 5/2 creatures, 7 across the boards for the others. I'd really like another spell, but it's fine. Well-rounded, flexible, build space. I like this a lot, but you know me, I love more spell slots, right? So A+ for that. Fun factor, I give her a D in fun factor. Okay, let's be honest. You know I love combos. I love them. I hate this one. I loathe it. Her animations take so freaking long, and the results can be so random based on the contents of your opponent's build for damage and conversion, and with the attrition of the support knocking itself down and shield, impact as you go, it just always makes me feel like I'm gambling with little input to the outcome. Now, when it works, ooh, lordy do lord, that's fun. It's cool. Takes forever, but it's still cool, and then I just set my phone down and I wait forever for it to work. When it doesn't, man, I can't stand it. So it's fun, yeah. It's awful, yeah, that too. Especially when you're facing it, and Greg just gets those ridiculous cascades that just never seem to end, which, as a player, we don't have the same level to. But from talking to hundreds of other players that really enjoy her, you guys are sick in the head. They say she's one of their favorite ways to play. I'm going to have to trust you on that, so I'm going to give it an A+. Again, I'll have to take your word for it. Overall grade, I give her a B+, C+ for newer players. Her third ability can really go, but I think that she is more card dependent than some of the others for doing the things you're looking to. Again, her abilities are self-included, though. Probably should give her maybe a B-, but that's where I'm going to leave her just for that sake. And there you go. Note that she is still ranked higher than Goz Master Flowers with a better score from him, simply because this has more to do with most of the other people in the meta in the game that speak highly of her, and I'm not really qualified to speak negatively about her because I just don't like her at all. So there you go. That's a concession from me to you, nerds. You guys that are Lily fans of the Veil, Liliana fans. Notice I didn't give that to Chronoclast. And since the last video came out, I'm getting a lot of pushback on Chronoclast too, so I may have to reevaluate that. We'll see, though. All right, let's get into our 7th slot here. This is Teferi, Master of Time, Mott. I love this Planeswalker, so this is the exact opposite of Liliana. So Teferi, Master of Time, is a B- for life. He has 112 for life. He does not have a passive ability. Ranks this high without a passive because his third is that strong. His first ability is Winds of Fate. It costs 9 loyalty. Discard the last card without mana from your hand, then draw 3 cards. Create a Winds of Fate token. The Winds of Fate token is an emblem to shield token that has prowess. Your first creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying until the end of turn. Prowess triggers whenever you cast a non-creature card. So anything you cast that's not a creature, you get a +1/+1 1/1, and that creature gains flying until end of turn. Additionally, you have Anticipation. You then drain 2 mana from the first card in your opponent's hand. Anticipation is whenever you cast a card during your opponent's turn. So anything with flash basically gets triggered then. And there you go. That's how that works. All right, so this is a solid ability to ditch the chaff and reload the hand with 3 cards. And the Fate token can make a solid impact if looping. The flash impact is slight and little because you're not usually being reactive with him. You're trying to be proactive. The only challenge I have here is at the cost of 9 loyalty, and there's no additional mana generation with it in this ability. It's because you're supposed to wait till you have an extra swap play when you're third, but just ramp to your third. Skip this at first. You're going to find that the first and second ability are really just speed bumps. You're just getting past. You're not even going to use them until after you have your third on board. So at that stage, you're in firm control and ready to dominate. All right, ability number 2. So this is Timeless Image. It's 12 loyalty. Disable target creature until the beginning of your next turn. If it's opposing creature, create a copy of it on the battlefield under your control. Otherwise, reinforce it. So this one is interesting. It's really a victim of Octi's desire to be clever in their design. On one hand, yeah, I get to disable their targetable thing, and I get a copy of it. That's cool. So if they got Rakdos or they got something like Phyrex and Vindicator, something that's oppressive on their side, cool, gimme, right? On the other hand, that doesn't remove their creature, and it just kicks that threat can to the start of the next turn. So it forces me to have to deal with it again, either locking it down again or whatever. Fine, fair. But your first time through, before you have your third ability on board, this is a little bit weaker. Now, on the third hand, if you have your third token on board, it's no big deal. You just, you should have more than enough time to draw into your removal, and you're okay. But when you're behind, this can sting you a bit more than help. And on the final hand, the fourth hand, I can use it to pump my own creatures, but because I have to disable it for a whole round, it's just not anything you're ever going to really do. I never do that. I really can't think of a scenario where that's viable to do. 12 loyalty isn't much, so when you're ahead, they have something pesky, make a copy of it and then wipe their board. That's cool, but still not something you're going to use very often. What you will use often is ability number 3. Master of Time. Master of Time token, draw 3 cards. So that's it. Create a Master of Time token, draw 3 cards. And the Master of Time token reads, it's a support card, emblem 3 token. When you make your first match during your turn, gain 2 extra swaps. 2. And you also get Resourceful 2. First non-creature card in hand gains 2 mana. So whenever you draw a card, and if that card is not the first card you drew this turn, so you got to draw your second and your third card, trigger this effect. This happens up to X times per turn. X is 2 because it says Resourceful 2 there. So again, just so you understand, you draw your second and third card. Your first non-creature card in your hand gains 2 mana. So that would be a total of 4 mana, and then that's it. It's capped, so you get an extra 4 mana off of drawing additional cards. Make sense? We don't care. All that matters is that first bit, 2 extra swaps. So this is what it's all about. Ramp to your 18 loyalty with Cascades or Scholar, Steam Core Scholar, and pump out your Mott support token. Then take all the time you need. Set up your 5 swap, make a suboptimal match to protect your key supports, make 2 loyalty matches now and still trigger your A, 1, or 2 in the same turn on your third swap, or just take the 3 swaps you need to get the extra beefy card cast from hand. No shenanigans, no trickery. I don't need to pump my mana bonuses at all. I can just take my sweet time and just make normal matches to get everything I have in hand out. Whatever you need to win, you get 2 extra swaps every turn as long as the support's on board. It can be matched, it can be destroyed, so watch out. All I have to do is ensure to get all the matches I need to get and stay ahead of Greg. This token provides. Now, this is an absolute S tier ability that makes everything else about this walker that much better. Do not stop at 1 or 2. Go straight to A3 and collect your GGs. Now, reevaluating your first and your second again, scrolling back up to the top, discard the last card without mana from your hand, then draw 3 cards, create a Winds of Fate token. So now, because you're creating so much loyalty on your extra swaps, you can go reload your hand if you're behind, or reuse your secondary ability. Oh, I'm going to take their creature. I have plenty of mana in hand. I have plenty of removal in hand, but I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of their best beater first, and then I'm going to remove it. That way I'm optimizing for it. So I would use this in that type of a situation. So again, those are better after the third, and you're ramping to the third, my friend. You are ramping to the third. It's amazing.
Mana bonuses, I give an A-, 4 to white, 4 to blue, 3 to black, -1s to red and green. Solid mana bonuses on his own, enough to get you there, but add Citadel and your extra swaps become that much more oppressive. That's 6, 6, and 5. Solid. You're going to have all the mana you need. Your deck slots are an A-. You got 6 to creatures, 7 to spells, that's the weak spot, and then 6 to supports. Well-rounded deck slots, but you know me, especially in mono blue, I love the option of a spell-only deck or 9 spells with either one other support or creature, especially if you're running this in Legacy for Omnilove. Even just one more spell slot and he'd be perfect. Alas, it's just 1 spell short of perfection. Really 2. I want 2. So there you go. Fun factor. I think that's an S fun factor for me. I think he's fantastic. This is definitely my play style. Some people don't like multiple swaps, and I get it. When you're ready to win, then it can be a little cumbersome, but to have to make a couple extra matches, first world problems. But if you like control and 3 swaps a turn, this is control. Teferi Mott is very fun to dominate with, and it does everything you want. This in comparison to Chronoclast, I don't understand why they're in the same conversation. I'm getting a bunch of heat from folks that just adore Chronoclast, and my thought process is just take extra swaps. A little bit better life total. I have a lot more options and flexibility. I can go run Ambiguity if I have that card in this Walker and still get the benefit I have with that, but I get 2 extra swaps, which to me is a lot more oppressive than just waiting for them to match my gems. I digress. Okay, key cards for him. Steam Core Scholar, Abuelo Ancestral Recall is a lot of fun with Kidnap. You get their creature, take their creature, use Abuelo to exile their creature to their exile, and then bring your big permanents, or big creatures, I should say, from your exile into the board for free. Satoru, always and everything blue. Cryptix is great here. Sea Double and Turn to Frog are great spells to be able to use with this. Fantastic card. My overall grade for Teferi is easily A-, B- for people that are playing with him that are brand new. I probably should just give him a B flat because I think that he is that much better than with just the extra swaps you have. Even if you don't have all the cards, you can make the janky cards or the overcosted cards or the less optimal cards work because you have that much more time to be able to do it. Just like Teferi says, I've got all the time I need. Number 6. I think this one might surprise a lot of you. It is Lolth, the Spider Queen, my queen. I do rank her higher than Teferi Master of Time strictly because of her impact to what's in the meta right now. It actually makes a difference. All right, so Lolth, Spider Queen. Her life total is B+. She's got 118 life. Her passive ability is one of those same things that, I'm not going to just play middle of the road and then say, oh, I like this one, I don't like that one. I don't like life loss abilities. I don't. So there is a Drider Spite alignment black. Each player loses 2 life. So not only do you lose life, but your opponent loses life. It triggers whenever you cast a monocolored card for the first time each turn. This is monocolored black, so that would be the one card that goes in there. And if you don't ever want to trigger it, just use all dual color cards, but not possible for the builds that you go with this. So this is the biggest knock I have on her. I've lost matches because of this passive. Rarely, but I have, and I'm not a fan of self-inflicted life loss, as I've said before. It's not my fave, and leaves you dependent on the meta to heal you if not built in, which she doesn't. So yes, this synergizes well with her later stuff, but it makes her useless in take X or less events. So I can't use her for that regard. So I give her passive a C. That's the lowest grade I've got on anything else for her, though. Her first ability is Knowledge of the Underdark. Oh, love D&D. I love Drow. Create a Demon Web Pits token. Draw 2 cards. Then you may lose 6 life. If you do, the last 2 cards in your hand gain 6 mana. So this is a solid ability. It does so much. It creates a synergized effect from the support token on board, indestructible, I may add, and it draws 2 cards with mana gain for a little pain. It's a solid first. All for 6 mana. Now, the Demon Web Pit itself is a emblem 3. It's resilient, so it won't be destroyed. When a creature you control dies, you gain 2 loyalty. If that card is a non-token creature, create a black spider token. If the support has the darkness emblem, which you'll get in her third ability, when a non-token creature dies, create X black spider tokens. X is equal to that creature's toughness. So, black spider, black, creature spider 2/1, token, menace, and reach. They're solid little blockers, man. They're solid little bodies. And there are many times, if you build correctly, those can win the game for you. They're very powerful. I like them a lot, and they synergize well with the rest of what she has. Yes, I know synergized is spelled incorrectly. I don't care. Ability number 2, Lolth's Punishment. 12 loyalty. Destroy target opposing creature. Then create a copy of Drider on the battlefield under your control. That card gains the Darkness emblem. This is the only place this card can get the Darkness emblem is with Lolth. It's crazy. Each player then loses 6 life. Removal for 12 mana. That's all you had to say, and it makes this a grade A2. But it gets better. You get a 4/3 body that when he deals to the face, you get another spider token. Synergy! And if you have the D emblem, hey now, when you lose life, so does Greg. Again, for 12, loyalty, this is aces, man. It's just aces. And the Drider is a black elf spider, 4/3 menace. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's Planeswalker, create a black spider token, period. Then, if this card has the Darkness emblem, when you lose life during your turn, your opponent loses that much life. So there's a little pinging back and forth. It's kind of win more. It's not much that's going to make much difference in a game unless there are specific things you're doing that suck the life out of you. Case in point, Peer into the Abyss if you're doing something like that in Legacy. Black Spider, black creature token, you know what that is. It creates all those things. It's a solid little ability. It's very well synergized and works well together and gives you 2 creature slots on the board so you can run a near creatureless build if you want. The third ability is a B+ for Demon Web Pits for 18 loyalty. Create a Demon Web Pits token, just as we did before. That support gains a Darkness emblem. Now we get the thing. Your creatures gain Berserker, Death Touch, and Double Strike until end of turn. So first, you get a Demon Web Pit token with Darkness. Nice. Next, pump your team with Berserk, Death Touch, and Double Strike. So anything without prevent damage on Greg's side dies, triggering the rest of your token creation and board presence. Now, if you're behind, this won't help out much outside of the reach token creation, but as a finisher, it's a pretty mid 2. But the real purpose of this is for 18 loyalty is the Darkness emblem, and that allows you to run more shenanigans in your first and second. It can do 20-ish points of damage when it's all said and done. It's a fair finisher, but it's not the greatest. Really, it's all about those first 2 abilities working after you have the third. So similar to like Mott, Master of Time, ramp to your third, get it down, and then get the rest of your stuff going. Those other 2 become a lot more impactful when you have that Darkness emblem. Fun factor for me, I really enjoy this quite a bit. I'm not a fan of losing life like ever, but her ability to lay waste to creatures and use death to bring her minions to the board is a big pile of fun to wreak havoc on the meta right now, especially if you lean into her Death Touch and First Strike or Double Strikes. That will really take out a lot of the creatures that are problematic in the meta right now for you outside of prevent damage creatures. Mythic build I have here: Breach the Multiverse, Kitrog, Necromancy, Sunken Citadel, Tyvar Jubilant Brawler, Demolition Field, of course Mystical Teachings. Tribute to Hunger is an incredible spell with her. Master of Keys is solid. There's some shenanigans going on with Master of Keys or all of the Overlords and the Knowledge is Power, but you won't see that here. And then Blasphemous Edict is a great card. In Peasant, Archpriest of Shadows, Huskbuster Swarm, Case of the Gorgon's Kiss, Live or Die is a great spell with this. Lively Dirge, Zombify, Cracked Skull, another Aces card, Ray of Ruin. Black is just in a really excellent state right now, both in Peasant and in Mythic. It's one of the strongest out there. And really one of the key cards here is Breach the Multiverse, which is a rare card. So worth hunting down along with Archpriest of Shadows. She's amazing right now. This is her meta, really, in my opinion. Anything in the yard she brings back. Anything with Death Touch they just bring back to the board. Fantastic. Fun, man. I can't even begin to tell you how much fun I have with that type of build. If you're into that, you should do those. All right, so deck slots. This is the one knock I have on her that's outside of everything else. She's got 7 creatures, 5 spells, only 5 spells, and 7 supports. It's fine, but she needs at least 2 more spells, but fine. And you'll note that I weigh heavier on spells than I do supports. There are a lot of times, because there are so many good black spells available right now in black in both Mythic and Peasant, I had to trim a couple of spells, and I don't want to. I don't need to. I don't need maybe 2 or 3 supports, maybe 4 or 5 max. I'd rather those were flipped. At any rate, I digress. Her mana bonus is an A. She's got -2 to white, +3 to blue, +5 to black, +4 to red, -1 to green. Solid mana bonuses. I prefer 1 more to black, but hey, I could be minus to red. Another minus to red would be fine. Give me 2 3s and a 6. That would make it an S class or an A+. Doesn't matter. You know the deal. Put Citadel in there. All things are good. Everything takes care of itself. I love this Walker. If you have her and haven't played with her in a minute, do yourself a favor and go dust her off, break her out, and play with her. She's got so many fun synergies right now in Standard that it's great. Legacy, you notice I don't talk about Legacy. Legacy, everything's broken in Legacy. You got tons of different things to do in Legacy. But in Standard, with the limited card pool that's available right now, which is still significant, she is a hoot. I give her A-B, flat B, and that's the reason why she just edges out Teferi, Master of Time, who is great all on his own, but I like Lolth a little bit better. Final thing I want to say here about all of these rankings so far. I could see you saying the Red Walkers are better than Lolth. I could see you even saying Valiana is better than Lolth. I could see you saying Goz Master of Flowers is... I think Goz Master of Flowers is probably higher. He's punching above his weight right now because of what's in white. But that said, those are all interchangeable. Those are up to debate, and they're in the top 10. It's good enough. These next 5, however, I'll fight you on. Let's get into them. Let's get into our top 5, baby. Let's go. Number 5, Liliana of the Dark Realms. She's new, won't be available for sale, but she absolutely is this level of a walker. She's my favorite mono black walker, period. She is amazing. Life is a B at 115, solid in the middle. Her passive ability is an A+. It's called Siphoning the Darkness. At the beginning of your turn, if there are 2 or more creature cards in your graveyard, gain X mana. X is the number of black gems on the board. My friend, did you hear what I just said? All of the black gems are give us mana. Yes, all we got to do is get 2 in the yard, grab a fistful of mana to start each turn. Amazing Lil, how sweet darkness. And with the first ability feeding the yard as early as turn 2, you're sitting pretty in mana each turn as early as round 3 or 2 if you really just cascade into it like Greg. Very well designed Webcore. This is chef's kiss. This is one of my favorite synergies between a passive and a first. But let's talk about her first. A+ for Grave Corruption. 6 loyalty. Are you noticing a trend with me? I love 6 loyalty stuff in first abilities. Destroy the top 6 cards of your library. If a creature card was destroyed this way, convert 5 gems to black. Now, this is not as powerful as Grist, where you're bringing stuff to from the yard to the board. This is still very powerful, though, for her, especially because it works so well with her passive ability. For 6 loyalty, put 6 in the yard, drop a creature, and get 5 gems converted to black. Yas, queen. Not to mention, when you get 2 creatures, typically your first trigger, and then at the start of your next turn, you get a board full of black mana count into your hand from your passive. Not the first card in hand, but the entire top-down hand. Yas, please. This is such... Oh, I can't say enough good things about how well this synergizes with each other. Just chef's kiss. All right, let's look at her fall off. Dark Consumption, ability number 2, 9 loyalty. Target creature gets -X. X is equal to half the number of the black gems on the board rounded down. I would love this ability if it wasn't half the mana or half the black gems on the board. That's it. So all you got to do, it would be good. It'd be good enough. It's neat if that creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control, but here's what's important to understand. We're matching black gems. So if we're running maybe Cryptics or some other black conversion stuff, then we're maybe getting enough more black gems on the board. But as it is, if you're not doing that, which I tend to lean against that, I don't like doing that for the most part, then we run into the same issue of, all right, well, if that's the case, then what winds up happening here is we don't have enough black gems on the board because we're matching them, and typically our opponent's playing black because black is really strong on the meta right now, i.e. Grist and Dakin, etc., etc., etc. Here's my point. There's already a self-limiter on the board in black gems as to making the impact to taking out their creatures. It shouldn't be half. It should be just where it is. Maybe charge 10 or 11 instead of 9 loyalty, but the half thing is just not it. So again, this is not the best removal. In fact, if you're facing Galta, it's worthless. But in a pinch, it's nice to curb the pain a bit because it is permanent. So every time you do it, if you get enough conversion on board, you can actually just go and whittle away at them. I mean, it is fun to take Yo Girl when it's enough. I just wish it wasn't rounded down for black gem count. At only 9 loyalty to trigger, though, you can spam your first into enough of a cascade to do it a couple of times pretty quickly. But, I mean, let's get real. This is black, so there is no end to the great removal in this color, which makes this a bit of a whiff, almost a completely wasted ability. So that said, it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. Ability number 3, Shadow Triumph. 15 loyalty. Your black mana bonus is increased by 4. Then, if your black mana bonus is 12 or more, destroy all opposing cards. Yeah, I know. It's win more. I know. You'll usually just spam the tar out of your first, and you'll have more than enough stuff on board with what is in black meta right now to just control the game. At 15, it's a bit on the heavy side to do 2 times. So really, it's 30 to do the full trigger effect, right? But I don't care. It's so much fun to see your mana bonuses jump from 4 to 8 to 12 with just 2 triggers. 30 loyalty total is enough to say bye-bye to all of Greg's things. It's epic control from that point forward. It is so much fun to just destroy your opponent at any given moment. Love it. But that's not all that it does. In increasing your mana bonus, it actually makes her mana bonuses one of the few, there's only 2, that have S plus mana gains in the game. Her static is -1 to white, +3 to blue, +4 to black, +2 to red, +1 to green. And you're already saying, but that's not as high as some of the others guys. I know, but you know what I'm going to say to you, right? Citadel. Say it with me. Citadel. That's before you trigger your third ability. So hear me out. Net +9 right now as it is to start. Then you hit your third. That's 13. Then you hit it again. Bam, you're at 17. Mid to late game, I know. But if you have Citadel on board, insta +17 from the jump. Then 21 and 25. She's nice. This is absolutely one of the best mana spreads to take advantage of what's in the meta. And even if you take Citadel out, you still can, for those grindier games, get into your third and then just use that to absolutely decimate anything they have on their side. Hand, hate, creature removal, supports on board, anything that they've got going on, it doesn't matter. I really need you to comprehend that, because Lil X is not on enough people's radar. She is devastatingly good. Like, her third might make me put her on tier with Grist, just because Grist gets bigger creatures out faster, and I argue that's Galta. That's it for me. Lil X is an amazing, amazing walker from top to bottom. Okay, her deck slots are a B+. I had to adjust it a bit because it's actually better after looking at it and reevaluating everything. Again, I did these first before I did the others, so I'm coming in here and sometimes I'm adjusting these. So 7, 7, and then 5. I'd have liked one more spell slot and another support, but it's fine. That would have made her an easy A, but a B+ is fine. Okay, so the fun factor is an S- if you like yard play. You like playing in the yard? Do you? Do you? Yes, this is another graveyard walker, but this one, she's perfect. It's Lil X putting bodies in the yard, necromancing hard, baby. Yeah! Watching your mana bonuses jump and eventually wiping Greg's board clean from just her necro nukies is... that didn't sound right. From just her necro nuke. Oh, it's black perfection, my friend. Emo for days, son. Key cards for her are Sunken Citadel, Breach the Multiverse, Judith Carnage Carnosaur, Painful Quandary, Rush of Dread, Unstoppable Slasher, Sheoldred, Rakdos, Patron of Chaos, Blasphemous Edict, Back in Town, Come Back Wrong, Atraxa, etc., etc., etc. So many different viable ways to play with her right now. It's insane. If you have any of those, and even if you don't have those, she's still typically worth picking up. I give her an A and a B+. I would say that for veterans, I promise you're sleeping on my girl. If you think Liliana was the truth, you have no clue what you're in store for if you got to pick this one up. This is the strongest mono black walker in the game, and it isn't even close. She's borderline S tier. Save for her wasted A2 and a slightly lower life total, she'd be a shoo-in for the rank and a little bit better of her deck slots. Now for noobs, you know how I feel about mono walkers for noobs. So get Grist, get Dakin, get Bolas 1. They're all much stronger than this one because they can do everything she's doing from a deck perspective, and that'll be good enough for you to win, and they're more flexible, and it gives you a lot more ways to be able to attack your win percentages. But man, she's fun. So after you have the 2 to 3 power walkers you need to cover your color wheel, if you decide to pick up a mono walker, this little lady should be near the top of that list for you if she doesn't complete your color wheel directly. So my friends, my nerds, she is so much fun, man. And I don't see near enough veterans talking about her as much as they should. She is a hoot. And yeah, I can't recommend her enough. But there are 4, quote unquote, better walkers than Liliana of the Dark Realms on this board right now. But I don't know, man. She's going to give them all a run for their money at some point. And right now in the 4th slot, I have green walkers. I'm doing a little cheat here. You know what I'm going to say, right? They're all A and A-. You got Ren and Realmbreaker, you got Ren and 7, you got Nissa Worldwaker, all ranked exactly the same. For several different reasons. Now I'm going to spend a second on this, so humor me a minute. One of the conversations I've been having online right now is the standard state of meta right now for green is insane. Green is really strong, and that's because of Galta. And so because Galta is so strong in the meta, I argue that any green walker, any mono green walker is darn near A tier or good enough tier, and even sometimes S tier because of how strong that is to just dump your hand onto the board. So when you combine a color like green and black together in any walker, Apex Predator, Garrick, Cursed Huntsman, Nissa Shadowed Boughs, and especially Grist, of course, all of those become just S tier walkers because of the capacity of what's available for them in green right now. Now, all that aside, I still think these all are pretty comparable regardless of where they are. So I would tell a new player that's just starting now, if you have Nissa Sage Animist as your starting green deck, go use your rewards and your stuff to get her up to a beefy level, 60th level. I wouldn't hate. Normally I tell you never do that, but in this case I would. Go win as many crystals as you need to go get Dakin or Bolas 1. And then furthermore, go get more resources so that when you're buying premium packs or getting cards and getting duplicates and getting crafting orbs, you want to take those crafting orbs and you want to go target Lost Caverns of Ixalan's rares until you get Galta. And once you have that, my friend, now you open up the rest of the game for yourself. You will dramatically increase your ability to convert, win, and score more because you have that card in hand. The rest of what you need are basically common and uncommon cards from even just origin sets and the basic sets that you already have. Just adding Galta makes a massive difference. We can debate that in the Discords. If you disagree with me, let me know. But I wanted to make sure that's clear as to why these green walkers are really, they're in the top 10, but they're in the top 10 because of the meta. I would normally, if there was no Galta in Standard, Liliana of the Dark Realms would be better than them. Say what you will, fam. Fight me. Let's get in the Discord and let me know respectfully. All right, so let's talk about these three here. I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to work my way up. Nissa Worldwaker is an A- Planeswalker in the current meta right now. And the reason I say that is because she actually has something that normally would work for her in her favor, but that isn't in her favor once you actually have some of the key cards, i.e. Galta and some of the other green power cards. But let's get into it. So her life total is a B-. She does not have a passive ability, so that does knock her down a bit. Her ability 1 is an A+. Whispers of Zendikar, 9 loyalty, create 4 forest tokens, convert 6 gems to green. That's really what it's always been about. This was an S tier ability, but with it being overcosted at 9, and I know we're going to go do green conversion, so we're going to jump into that pretty quickly. I get it. I do. So it's not as difficult to get into, but the first time early, it slows your curve down quite a bit. It is a little overpriced for the meta now, but the convert 6 is a healthy payoff to keep your loyalty flowing for the next use. The creatures are great because the haste and getting ramped into the third. So when you have these 3 creatures on board, these little tokens, or the 4 forest tokens, I should say. So you got a 4/4 on board. They have haste, and you're able to start doing objectives of like attacking number of turns or whatever. So she really helps with that. Furthermore, if you have sacrifice stuff like the green spell, I forget the name of it, that I can kill a creature and get 12 mana, that becomes a great thing to be able to use with these creatures because you can feed into the next thing. Her secondary ability is a B-, so that one's an A+. It's a really excellent ability. It's fantastic. Her secondary ability is World Wake, 12 loyalty, draw 2 cards, then all cards in your hand gain Awaken 4. Essentially, the way Awaken 4 works is it gives you an extra wheel of stored mana in addition to the basic casting cost. So you get it full mana for a 5 to cast, whatever. You have an additional 4 that you can add to it. That'll create 2 forest tokens for each one of those that you do. So you get basically 4, I believe it is. I don't know, something like that. That's how it works. You get some additional tokens. I haven't played with it for so long. I did play with it for testing this, but I didn't use the secondary ability because I don't really like the secondary ability. The additionally creates a World Wake token under your control. Now, the World Wake token is a support enchantment. Landfall, your creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. That's why I don't bother with it. It's an addition, not a multiplication of power. It's not base power goes up by 1. That would be even better because then that makes it exponential for the number of creatures that you have on board, i.e. your forest elemental lands. Doesn't work that way. Not worth chasing down. You would rather go to your third ability and then spam your first. You're really just needing your first ability to spam that and then get it to the third. I rarely use this unless I'm really ahead with a full hand of mana. I'm just trying to pump up my third creature. It does give you something to do with your mana, but it still feels like win more at times. I'm just trying to do something with it versus just sitting with a fistful of loyalty. Third ability is Heart of Zendikar. It's 18 loyalty. Create 4 Ashaya, the Awoken World tokens. This is a solid win con. It's similar to Zerial. You just don't need a lot of anything else if you lean into ramping into your third and pumping the board with forest tokens. Still, I'd love to see it be bigger than just a 2/2, as that makes the endgame a miss at times. Sometimes you'll have to swing a couple of times, and as we know and how fast this meta is with Chaos Warp and Requisition Raid and Greg's just Cascades, you usually don't, you may not have a couple of turns to be able to win with. So if you're going to pluck your third, you want it to be working right away for you. So Jaya the Woken World is a green creature, elemental 2/2, token haste, trample leader elemental. While this creature is reinforced 6 or more times, it gets to regenerate 2. Nice. Give it some reach or some defense, and it becomes a blocking body for you. And while this creature is reinforced 12 or more times, it has hexproof. You've already won by then. That's a 24/24 essentially is a minimum. That's swinging for dome. It's not going to take you long mid to late game to be able to get that done and do some stuff. Her mana bonuses are solid. +3, +1, -1, +2, +4 to the respective colors. If there were ever an argument for Sunken Citadel, you're looking at it. Mo mana. She just gives you more and more and more. Plus her green cascades and conversions from her first ability just nuke the board. You're going to have all the mana you can handle. Her deck slots are good. She's got 6 creatures, 7 spells, 6 supports. Solid deck slots. You know me. I want more spells, so that's fine. Her fun factor is a B and an A. Now the reason I say it's B and an A is because of tokens. Yes, it's tokens. Yes, they animate so stinking slow. Please, Webcore, will you please get this fixed? All that doesn't matter. Your abilities work so well together. You're going to be pumping out and buffing your weenies so big, your bushes will be near impossible to handle when they're full blown. Okay. Key cards for her are Tempt of Discovery. Any green thing, Hall of Gemstones is fantastic. Really, Galta. Anything green conversion in Galta, just it's all you need. Big creatures and everything else you can wind up getting. So the grade I've got for her is an A-. Now, what's the B- for? When you start to get better and better creatures, you don't have room on the board with the tokens that are in place. You're actually limiting yourself to one of the bigger, more powerful creatures you could have in deck to get it done. Sometimes you find yourself juggling the creatures out of the way to get to the rest of the stuff. And if you're playing with 3 creatures in your deck, it's like, oh, that's no big deal. Goz, you can just run the creatures and just ignore the tokens. Yeah, but then when you're using your first ability, you're losing that extra bit. You're getting the mana conversion, you're just getting the 6 conversion. Well, there's other walkers that would do that better if you're not going to be paying attention to the token slots. That's just a preference of mine. For me, it's like discarding cards with mana in them. I hate doing that. Even if it's going to get me a win con, it feels like I'm wasting some of the stuff that I work towards. And I don't ever like doing that. This feels that way. It's a small point, but it is for me. As you start to establish more of a collection, you will find yourself with most of the mono walkers that are here playing less and less because they're not as flexible, they're not as fun. She does one thing, and she does it really, really well. Gets conversion on the board, grabs some creatures, helps you win. That's it. So there you go. There is Nissa Worldwaker, A-. Next is Ren and 7 on the board. Ren and 7 has a low life count at 101. Her passive ability is a B+. Symbiosis. When you convert gems for the first time during your turn, convert 2 gems to green. So lands will trigger this in addition to your normal conversion. So convert to green in some way and get 2 more to boot. It's nice and synergized when you really lean into it. She's all about land. So her first ability is One with Nature. Pick up to 4 of the first 4 cards from your library. Fetch those cards. Destroy the top 4 cards of your library. Then land cards in your hand gain half of their mana. That's period. And then it's just land cards in your hand gain half of their mana. I love this ability. Grab any 4 cards you want. Lands is typically what you want to focus on. And lands that you have in hand get half their mana. So if they already had half mana, they're getting an additional half mana. Guess who gets to cast them this turn? But then put the next 4 cards, starting with those that you didn't pick, into the yard. So yard play, you know I love it. I love putting stuff in the yard. I love pulling stuff out of the yard. I'm a gardener. I really am. I'm a gardener. My only knock on this is it's just a hair too expensive. I would have loved this to be maybe a 7 or a 6, but with our passive making matches, assuming you're playing with green converting lands, this should happen pretty quickly for you. So again, little preferences, but it works. It works really, really well. Ability number 2 is Hosting Gems. 15 loyalty. It's a big jump. Target creature you control gets +X/+X. X is equal to the amount of green gems on the board. Yes, up to 10. No! Then Coven, convert 2 gems to green. And Coven is the ability activates as long as you control 2 or more creatures with different powers. So if you got 2 creatures on board, one has 6 power, one has 8 power, you're going to be adjusted power. Even if you have 2 creatures with the exact same power and then you hit them with this ability, that bumps them up. So it's different net powers, not base powers. Very important. With all the green conversion, you're pretty much getting a +10/+10, and if you have another creature on board, you're most likely getting another 2 gems converting to green, which in turn converts another 2 with your passive, so it's a good snowball effect. 15 loyalty is a little up there for what you're actually net getting. You're getting a +10/+10 to your creature. Okay, I can just cast another Galta, and I got a 15/15 on the board. All right, or I could double up with a Railway Brawler, and I'm getting 100/100. 15 loyalty is a little bit up there, and this can typically be win more with a good power green deck. but it can serve for some needed pump if you're just needing that extra push to good game. Again, newer players, this will serve you. It will help you get over the hump in what you're looking for. It's a solid ability. It's not bad. You're just going to eventually not be using it very much. And finally, Overflowing. Overflowing. 21 loyalty. Create an Overflowing token. Go figure. Pick up to 2 of the first 4 non-land cards in your graveyard. Fetch those cards. Those cards gain full mana. So the Overflowing token is a support card. It's an Emblem 4 token, legendary, and has Mana Field. Mana Field, you draw a card. Now, when you draw a card, if you have 6 cards in your hand, convert 1 gem to green. This effect can only trigger up to 3 times per turn. The real thing here is it's all about that last effect. Grab 2 non-land cards from your yard, give them full mana, and if they're Galtas, hey, why not, right? Here's the thing. I just wish the token wasn't limited to 3x. Even just that would be fine. It's me. What do you expect? I always like the big things. It converts enough to get you into your hand and do what you want, but that's not what we're doing here. It's really all about that third. That's worth 21 loyalty all by itself. So I'm going to stop complaining because it's a solid ability all the way around. A+ for that ability. Mana bonuses. +2, -1, +1, +3, +4. Very similar to what we saw with Nissa. Again, I'd like it to be more, but come on. With all the conversion happening, you'll have plenty of mana, especially leaning into lands that you should be doing. So you're going to have plenty of mana to do it. Just might take a little turn or two to get to where you want to go. Her deck slots are 6, 7, and 6. Just needed one more spell slot to be an A and A+ or whatever it is, and I would have taken it. Or a 7 to supports, fine, whatever. Fun factor, it's very, very fun. Her key cards are just the same as everything we've talked about already, all the green things. Her overall grade is an A, A-, similar as we've said before. Final one here, which is for Ren and Realmbreaker. I list her the best out of all 3 of these. 108 is a C+ for life. Passive ability is a B+. When you make a match by swap of any color except green, convert 2 gems to the most present color on the board. So hopefully that's green. You make a blue match, then you get 2 green converts on your behalf, and then you increase your mana bonus in that color by 1 until end of turn. Whatever the most present color on the board is. Hopefully that's green. This is a clever use of conversion. The key is don't match your main color and hope that you cascade into from 2 of the other conversions that you get. This is a very fun playability. It gets you thinking on the gem swaps you're matchmaking, and then later game you just make green stuff. It doesn't matter. Ability 1, Reclaim from Lost Realms. 8 loyalty. Destroy the top 2 cards of your library. Then pick one of the first 4 creature or support cards from your graveyard and put it into your hand. It gains X mana. X is the number of land cards you control +3. I would have loved that to be reinforcements, but it's fine. So this is, on first use, gets you a min of a card from your yard, non-spell, and 3 mana until you start playing lands. And that's where you get to go a little nutty. If you really lean into the lands thing, you'll get some good mana and practically a free card per turn mid to late game. A little pricey at 8, but the theory is you just get extra mana from the way that you match your gems, so you're really not 8. It's going to take care of itself. And that's kind of the nature with green. It can cost a little more to get into, but the theory is green's whole shtick is conversion, so you should have plenty of conversion happening that really doesn't make those too big of a deal. I give Reclaim from Lost Realms a B+. Ability 2, Infusion of the Multiverse. Target creature you control gains the land subtype. It gets +X and gains Reach, Trample, and Hexproof until the beginning of your next turn. Come on, why? X is the number of land cards you control, including their reinforcements, plus the number of land cards in your graveyard. So using your first ability, you're going to be loading the yard and the board and just normal progression, normal green ramp to get all of your stuff in place to get things going. And if you lean into that strategy, that's a solid way to be able to use this ability, and it'll be functional to be able to pump your creatures that are on board and swing for, massive amounts of face paint. So, clever girl, this is the actual trick. If you use this to target a token creature stack, you'll get all the mana you need and then some when you trigger your first again, because that makes them land creatures and their reinforcements count towards the first ability. Plus, you can now grab the flyers and roll over the walls on the ground with Reach and Trample till end of turn at least. Wait, why are we getting Reach till end of turn? What does that matter? Oh, Octagon, I adore you. And if you lean into the yard fill, i.e. the current meta, you get even more from any soil in the soil. All that said, it's creature dependent. So if Greg wipes your board, it makes this worthless, but at 10 loyalty, it's cheap enough that you can make it go on your next turn again and again and again with all your green conversion. All right, B- for that ability. Ability number 3, Root Resonator, 18 loyalty, create 4 rich soil tokens, convert 7 gems to the colors of your first creature or support cards in your graveyard. Rich soil, when you make a match by swap, return the first creature or support card with the matched color from your graveyard to play under your control. Reinforce that card X times. If that is a creature card, it gains haste. That is how haste works. Until end of turn. X is the number of land cards you control, including their reinforcements. If that is a Vanguard card, that card is not reinforced. So if you do the token stack thing like I suggested, and then you're using this again, woo, child, you got a big finisher. At the beginning of your turn, increase each of your mana bonuses by the number of cards with that color in your graveyard until the beginning of your next turn. Yeah, this just escalates and ramps very, very quickly. So 4 of these bad boys with a creature in yard, Ghalta, makes a green match and puts it on board, reinforced equal number of lands in play. Token stack gets multiple Ghaltas, and give it haste to swing for face. All on the same turn you trigger the ability. Good game. That's it. Or if you do pull a support, more colors the better, then reinforce it land times. Okay, I guess that gives it a bunch of shields, so whatever, it leans into that. It doesn't work on a Vanguard, and that's a big challenge. If it did, that would be great. Why not make Vanguards? That would be great. But by this time, you've pretty much earned a cool power-up, but whatever. Cycle of Life, Banner of Kinship, etc. Then if you don't win this turn, good luck. I gave this an A, but this really is an A+ to an S tier ability. If you feed the yard right, it's really, really solid. This is a great... That's what it is. You just ramp into your third and do the things, because then after that, everything's free. That alone is very on par with Mott, right? That the ultimate is so strong. Same with like Liliana of the Dark Realms. Their third is so strong, it's game. That's just it. Now, her mana bonuses are a B-, and they're only that high because of Sunken Citadel. 2, 2, and 2 to red, blue, white, blue, red. Nothing to black, and then 3 to green. Yes, they're anticipating you're going to be leaning into your land abilities and conversions and yada yada, but you got to get there, man. And with the meta being as fast as it is now, this kind of a mana spread is not the best in the world. Sunken Citadel hitting the board makes it 4, 4, 4, and 5. Now you're at the races. Now you can actually play, and any match you make basically allows you to do well. All right, so for her deck slots, she gets 6 creatures, 6 spells. That's low. That's way too low for me. She needs at least 1 or 2 more spell slots, and 7 supports, which again, you're leaning into land, so that makes sense. It's still meh. It's a B in my opinion. Her fun factor is off the chart at A+. She's fantastic, especially when you ramp into that third and you get all the things you want free. That's really what it's about. You're looking just to go make your matches, do your things, cascade into the boards. It's self-limiting, so it's not unlimited power, but it is pretty fantastic. Again, her overall grade, A-. Excellent. So, Goz, how do I know which one is right for me if I'm at a stage where a green walker and I have the other walkers that are above this? How should I pick which one I'm going with here? Really, at the end of the day, if you have Ghalta, any one of them is fine. You're going to do fine, okay? If you don't have a lot of power cards, I would actually say that Worldwaker is a little bit better for a newer player because she can win all on her own. She doesn't need any cards at all. She can win just with her own token stack. That said, if you do have a mid-level collection or newer mid-level collection, Wrenn and 7 or Realmbreaker are going to be better for you. If you have key lands that make a big difference, Wrenn and 7 might be a little bit better for you to go. However, out of the two, I would still prefer Realmbreaker because of that ultimate. Eventually, you're going to get those cards, and eventually you're going to wind up playing with Realmbreaker, and you probably aren't going to play with 7 as much. But if you pick up, if there's something that sings to you about 7, that you just think that's absolutely the one I want to go with, hey, my friend, knock yourself out. Every single one of them are fantastic. There's not really a bad choice at this level. In this regard, I hold Realmbreaker just a bit better than the other two when you have the cards to fully leverage her. My 4th slot. What do you think so far? Yeah? You ready for the top 3? Let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Garrick Unleashed. What, Goz? You heard me. Garrick Unleashed. He is an S- A+ tier. And I expect a lot of pushback on this. Hear me out. Hear me out. A+ to life. He's got all the life he needs. Passive ability doesn't have one. Ability 1 is a B. Unleash Instincts. 6 loyalty. Target creature you control gets +6/+6 and gains trampled till end of turn. Then if that creature's base power is 5 or more, you get to draw 2 cards. You're playing with Garrick. You're going to play with creatures that have base power 5 or more. So a little card draw if needed, but honestly, you rarely use this. It's only after you need more draw mid to late game. but that hand fill is significant when you get it. That's the reason I gave this as good a grade as it is, because you're not doing this first. You're going right to third or second, really, and then you come back and start doing your one. You could do your third and then work your way backward, but I'm going to say second first. I normally do second. Hunting Pack, 12 loyalty. Your first non-token creature gains leader beast, and then you create 3 beast tokens. All right, you know what I'm going to say. You're going to have Galta on board. You're going to give her leader for beast, give her 3 tokens. She's now a 60/60 whenever you activate this ability. Yeah, that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. If Greg has more critters than you, you gain 6 loyalty, and you can do this again next turn. But if that doesn't matter, with big greenies on board, Galta, Railway, Brawler, Gitrog, you get a massive body to swing for massive damage, and all for just 12 loyalty. This is an incredible ability. I use this. I'll have a creature that doesn't have Vigilance or Reach in the first position, i.e. Galta. I'll then bring out a creature with Reach or Vigilance, i.e. Railway Brawler, because it has Reach. Then I put it on them, and then he gets those reinforcements. Now that only gives him a plus 15 because he's a base power of 5/5. It is what it is. It is what it is, my friend. And the beast tokens are 3/3 green creature tokens. There you go. Another S-, that's an S- ability. And then another S- ability is Predator's Trail, 18 loyalty, create a Predator's Trail token, then fetch the first 2 non-creature cards from your library. Predator's Trail is a green support card emblem 4 token. While on the board, your first creature gains Berserk and Trample, so your big bodies get to go and murder whatever they've got, even if they don't have Trample, rolls over them and hits face. At the end of your turn, pick one of the first 4 different creature cards from your library, move that card into play under your control, Morbid, then your creatures get +1/+1. So because you rolled over a bunch of stuff on their side, you basically get everything +1/+1. That's not good enough. I want to grab the biggest baddie from my library, I want to put it on the yard, and end of turn every single one of my turns. And I want to trigger those sweet enter battlefields effects every single time. So if I throw a Troxa on board, I get to do that. Give the first creature a little Berserk and Trample and Morbid Pump +1. And we just don't care if Greg wipes our board. We are Legion and we keep coming for more. Just don't destroy our support token, because that's not what we want to see happen. That is absolutely an S- tier ability. It is fantastic. It does a great job. His mana bonuses are an A+, or A- rather. He's got -1 to white and blue respectively, +3 to black, +4 to red and green. Decent mana gains, and let's face it, it's green, so all the green conversion, the cards like Hall of Gemstones and Sunken Citadel, make those more than enough to dominate the match. Deck slots are an A-, 7, 6, and 6. Really want more spell slots, but this is typically fine for most metas. And the fun factor for me is an S. It's not even close. I use this guy because of his ability to get those creatures out. And he is in this ranking very strictly because of the green creatures we have in standard right now. Even non-mythics and masterpieces, even rares, if you have very limited of them, he allows you to take them out there and just start running the farm against them. Now, this was weak to control. So you got to make sure you have something that deals with supports on their side, that deals with vanguards, and gets rid of those things on a regular basis. If you add that to your build, you should be fine. Key cards here, Hall of Gemstones, Galta, of course. Thunder's Debut does work with this. Sunken Citadel, of course. Tyvar, Jubilant Brawler. Give your creatures hasties. That's amazing. Gitrog, Railway Brawler. Sylvan Tutor is another great card. Tempt with Discovery, of course, for the green conversion. All great cards. If you have any of those, a viable option here with Garrick Unleashed. Now, why do I rank this Green Walker better than all the other Green Walkers? Because the standard meta right now is a creature-focused meta. And the quicker you can go and get your creatures beefed up to go win, the quicker you win. For objectives that are win fast. Now, I get a lot of pushback from folks who say, Goz, all you want to do is just go aggro and win. Yes, I do. However, I also argue that that's mostly the meta right now, is that you need to have an OTK or some way of finishing within a turn or 2 max of when you've completed objectives. You need to have a go button to get that done. That's why Garrick gets higher ranked on my list than the other Green Walkers, and I think he's a better place for that. Galta gets nerfed or isn't in standard anymore. He's going to probably take a step back, and those other walkers are going to take that spot for him. But for right now, with everything available to him, everyone running those decks equally, he runs them faster, he runs them cleaner, and he runs them for a lot more punishment than they do with them. They have to go trick around to get their stuff out. He doesn't. He just puts a body on board, multiplies it, and swings for face. GG. He's great for training grounds. I'm sorry, quick battles. He's great for win now objectives, peasant only builds, and win within 6 turn kind of objectives, or deal X number of damage or more. An OTK typically counts that damage and you wind up winning. He's a fantastic mono green walker. If you don't have him and you're at this stage where you have a medium to good size collection, you may want to pick him up. And I would argue him better than the others for Wrens and Nissas and whoever else you got on board. Agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments and in Discord. I'd like to hear it. Position number 2, Jace Reawakened. Now he's new, he won't be on sale, but my goodness, is another S tier walker in my opinion. Jace Reawakened, he is S with nothing in his build. Like literally nothing. He is insane good. Life total is a B minus, 113. His passive ability is an A. Look at how pretty that is. When you draw your first card each turn, if this is turn 1, 2, or 3, your blue mana bonuses is increased by 1. Otherwise, increase the cost of the last card in your opponent's hand by 4. That's significant. I mean, I would say, Webcore, okay, you guys designed this one. I like it. Just give us +7 to blue. Why do we have to wait a turn or two? What are you stopping us from doing without that mana bonuses up front? Okay, it's fine. It's fine, man. But I'm just saying, if we had all that mana up front, it would be nice. It'd be nice. But I'm fine waiting 2 turns to be able to get it, or 3 turns, or whatever it is. All right. Second part is, okay, minimal impact, but it does add up, especially when you're in control with him later on. It plays and makes a difference later. I was lower on that earlier on, but I would find myself just very much dominating 1 or 2 card hands from an opponent, and the reason is because I'm making all this stuff cost more. It's pretty fantastic. Ability 1 is an S. Psychic Manipulation. 8 loyalty. Discard the last card from your hand. Gain X mana. X is the base cost of the discarded card. Yes, this is so good. Give me mana. Incentives you to play with higher costed cards for the full mana gain, and feeds the yard with cards in your last position. So, nice. My only complaint here is there's no draw. Okay, so even if it just drew 1 to replace the card that you ditched, okay, it forces you to have to add draw, like heavy draw, to use all the mana you'll be getting here. It's a great ability. You just got to build around draw into what you're doing. Everything has to be a draw focus because you will run out of cards to put mana into with this ability. This is an insane ability. It's an S ability. I mean, 8 loyalty, yes, it takes just a smidge to get into. But if you cascade, if you do your things, and with your loyalty or your mana bonuses at 7, and you're just cascading and doing the things, great. Right? Cryptics is causing the things to happen in the beginning, fine. But man, is that just a solid ability. Ability 2, Memory Reversal. 9 loyalty, just 1 more than the first. Return up to 1 random opposing support to their owner's hand. This effect can hit vanguards. Return the first opposing creature to their owner's hand, then increase the cost of those cards by 6. Hey, Greg, looks like you worked real hard to get that creature and support on the board. Tell you what, pick up a random one of each, make them cost 6 more, and I'll do it all for 9 loyalty. How about that? Oh, no, there's no room in your hand? Oh, it's okay. Then just put them in the yard. That's fine, too. Yeah, this is great, man. Removal mechanic for Jace. It's perfect. It's cheeky. It's silly. I love it. It's cheap, and with a good loyalty ramp in blue, it's easy to trigger repeatedly if needed. I love this. Because it's 1 for 1. Sometimes if you get somebody that cascades, Greg really cascades, you got a mess on the board you're trying to clean up with, it might miss the key thing you're trying to aim for, but it will always get that first creature in first slot, which is usually the one that's the biggest pain in the tail. So go get it out of the way and deal with the supports as you go along. It might take a little while longer, but you'll get there. And then the final ability, Telepathic Shock. A+ for this. 17 loyalty, drain all mana from your opponent's hand, deal X damage to your opponent. Now I want you to note something. Drain all mana from your opponent's hand. It's not some or up to or as much as, all of it. I take all of it. I drink all of your milkshake. I deal X damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. X is 45 minus the amount of mana drained from their hand this way. So if they had 15 mana in hand, it's only going to be 30. Fine. But I'm going to control. I build a janky peasant build where all it does is drain mana from hand, and I'm just ramping into my third ability. It is so insane. It's 45 to the face every single turn. It was a great. It's great. It's so much fun. Then the first 2 cards in your exile. Oh, then here's the bit that can get a little annoying sometimes. Exile the last 2 cards from your hand. Then the first 2 cards in your exile gain plot 6 and plotted emblem. So then they come back to your hand full mana. No mana for you. I erase it all. Then you take 45 to the face minus whatever I drained. Then I kick the last 2 cards from my hand to exile, give them full mana for my next turn. They come back at the end of this turn, they're all full up. I mean, honestly, man, what is not to love about this? Sometimes it's a little annoying to ditch your last 2 cards, especially if those are the only 2 cards you have in hand to make this happen. But for 45 to the face, I'll take it all day long, man. It's fine. You get used to it. It's not that big a deal. Mana bonuses, S+. Another one that has that ranking. Why? 2 to white, 4 to blue, 3 to black, -1 to red, +1 to green. Cool. But with his passive ability making that 4 to blue a 7 in just a couple of turns, he's actually got a net of +12 static. That's just base. I don't have to do anything else except take a couple of turns. That's stock. Add my favorite Citadel, and you make it a cool +20. This is dope. His peak is not as good as Lil X, but it's more functional, it's faster, and you don't really have to do much to go get it. You don't have to use your third to ramp into it. Amazing mana bonuses. So if there's any knock on his walker, it's his lack of a couple more spell slots to make him a near full creatureless omni box. Even just 1 more spell slot would have been ideal, but hey, I'll take it with all the other things he has. It's still an A. It does all the things. You have enough support slots, enough creature slots, and just like another spell slot. That would have been fine. His fun factor is an A+ easily. Just shooting somebody in the face with your blue power for 45 is fantastic. Yeah. Even for you new folks that are thinking about getting some type of monocolored walker and you're just dead set on getting all mono walkers, this absolutely should be your blue focus. He's fantastic. He's great. He is the 2nd strongest walker in the game, in my opinion, for monocolors. He is excellent. And if you don't have this, if you're a veteran and you don't have this walker and you haven't played with it, you're missing out. It's so much fun to do all the things you do with him. Absolutely an S tier walker. S-, but still an S tier walker. All right, that leaves us with just 1 more left to go. And who is it? Who could possibly be at the front? You already know who it is. Will you agree with my selection? That's what's important to note. It's Ajani Invigorate Leadership. Why? And I want you to note, he's an A+ for veterans and an S for noobs. It has an opposite effect there. Why? Because he's a complete package, man. You don't need anything else other than him, and he'll just win. You just need some support and creature removal, maybe some exile with Requisition Raid, and you have a complete win con. This card, this walker, even after the nerf that came a couple years ago, is still absolutely the beast of events. He's still a beast of a walker to face. It's just amazing, and Greg finds it really hard to pilot him wrong. But let's break it down, everything about him. His life is an S- at 130. His passive ability is a B+. At the end of your turn, if you have full life, create an Ajani Soldier token. If you don't have full life, create an Enlist a gem. So when you match that, you can gain some life. Kitty token turn 1, and every turn that you're at full health, nice. Basically, any objective that is attack X or more or summon X number of creatures, he immediately just starts feeding into. It's just a matter of time before he hits it, and you don't have to do anything but show up with your best deck and win. His first ability is insane. Blessed Leadership, 6 loyalty, it's an A. Enlist 4 gems, create 4 Ajani Leadership tokens. Those cards gain lifelink. You gain 6 life. So in other words, you put these little tokens on the board, and if you match them, your creatures at random can get lifelink. What's best? Even if your opponent matches them, your creatures get lifelink. It's fantastic. So even if you can't make a match and you have to take a position where it's a match close to it, but it puts those tokens in matchable situations for Greg to match, you still get the benefits on his turn before combat, which is great. And list 4, while you're doing that, you're converting some of the board to white mana for yourself, so you're providing a next great swap on the next turn. You gain 6 life, then if pop a leadership gem, give a rando creature of yours lifelink and do it all for just 6 loyalties sold. This really is an A+ to an S tier ability. I got to give it more than that because it's that solid. Ability 2, enlist the gem, create 4 Ajani Leadership tokens, similar to what you did in the first one. Those are for double strike this time. And then creatures get +2/+2 until end of turn. The +2/+2 is kind of interesting. It's really about the double strike. Enlist another gem, a few more leadership tokens for double strike, and a temp buff till end of turn for nice. Nice, it's really good. But then it's that third one. Unscathed Leadership. For only 10 loyalty, enlist 1 gem, create 5 Ajani Leadership tokens. Those cards gain prevent damage, and then you gain 3 more loyalties. So then you can go back up and do your first again as many times as you'd like. Enlist 1 more, 4 more bubbles, give your critters a PD for just 10 loyalty, and if you get 3 loyalty back, say it with me, that's called Synergy. It's really good, man. All in all, what you're doing with your abilities is this. You're trying to use your first to ramp up into your third. You use your third to give your creatures prevent damage. And then you get your second on board. You give your creatures double strike. And then you give them healing along the way so you keep yourself full so your creatures are expanding. That is the most synergistic 3 abilities in the game. They might be the best triple power play that works well for them. The only thing is they're not flyers, and there's no built-in way for you to deal with removal or getting rid of their prevent damage creatures. So something you have to be mindful of while you do that. His deck slots are good, 5 creatures, which is interesting for a creature-based focus, but hey, they're running into tokens, so I get it. Then 7 spells and 7 supports. A Mono Walker that doesn't have 8 slots for creatures and it has 7 spell supports, 2 slots, please, yeah, make 7 a base going forward. This should be the base for everything going forward, in my opinion. That would be fantastic. It isn't, but I give that a solid A. Mana bonuses are a flat S, plus 7 to the main and 3 to the 2 others. Yeah, minuses be damned. This is a healthy mana spread, and well, with all the conversion popping off of what your A1 is providing, your hand's always going to be full with mana. And if you use Fist of Suns, which is a PMA support that is available in all of them, which you're probably going to get if you're grinding into white. Like in PMA white, there's only Healer of the Pride that's worth going after, but Fist of Suns is a great consolary prize, because if you use that with him, Fist of Suns works with all of the PMA walkers that are using improved gems. So especially with him, it just gives him a ridiculous mana bump. His fun factor is so good. All of his abilities work really, really well together. You're just going to get yourself in a position where you have dominant, undestructible creatures with double strike that are swinging for face. And if you're using creatures that have exile effects, those things are fantastic. You can lean into your creatures, just 2, because you need a slot for your kitties on board. Unless you have something with leaders, then you can go and make them do that as well. It's there's just not enough to say here. All right, let me give you the 2 different variations as to why I consider him an A+ walker for vets still. If you haven't played with him in a while, you need to revisit him, because the meta is very different, and you're going to get a very different experience out of him. He's very strong. So yes, he is an S-tier walker for noobs, but as a vet, you rarely play him unless you need token objectives or attack X times or gain life or something like that. He's an S tier though still for you, but there's so many other walkers you prefer playing with, because the guy does one thing and he does it uber well. He wins, and that gets boring for some players. You like variety and challenges and whatever it is that go into it. He is a machine for feeding whatever else you're doing in white. That's why veterans might want to take a secondary look at him. And if you do get behind, you can always use your first, second, and third abilities to power up your creatures. Now, it is creature dependent. So if they're doing things that are wiping your board every turn, or that are locking them down and it doesn't allow your creatures to get off, that can be a big negative setback. But come on, Requisition Raid, removal. White has a ton of great removal right now, even outside of its number 1 ace removal card. You got plenty of things to play. Now, if you're a new player, this is an S-Walker for you, because it absolutely is top of the food chain in the savannas of noob planes. He'll help you win crazy amounts of games, hit tons of objectives, and he'll do it all without ever needing to touch any of your health potions. He's one of the noobiest friendly mono walkers in the game, and that's why he gets the top slot nod. So because of that alone, my friends, he is the apex predator in the mono walker realm. He does everything that a new player would want out of this, and even a veteran who hasn't played it in a while. There are a lot of cards out there that you would really want to consider it and go and take a look at. Key cards for him: Healer of the Pride, Fist of Suns, Assemble the Players, Phyrexian Vindicator, Requisition Raid, Tempt with Bunnies. Hilarious with him, because you're gaining so much life, you're just doing that much more damage. And Healer of the Pride just loves him, because every time he puts out a token, you're just getting more mana, you're getting more conversion. It's just insane. So there you have it, my friends. The list is complete. You have Ajani, Jace Reawakened, Garrick Unleashed, all the Green Walkers, the Realms, the Wrens and Nissa, Liliana of the Dark Realms, Lolth Spider Queen, maybe surprise a few of you, Teferi Master of Time, absolutely there. Chandra, Hope's Beacon is up there, Jaya Ballard, Liliana the Veil, and the Goz Master of Flowers. What do you think, my friends? Where did I miss? What did I get right? What didn't I? I would love to hear your feedback. Comment in the sections below. Get into the Discord. Comment there with the rest of the group. Challenge me. And to all you folks that have been coming at me with Chronoclast, I'm sure I'm going to get a few more folks that are going to come at me here with these. I welcome your deck builds. I welcome your analogies, your thought processes behind them. And I want to make sure we're clear on something. Just because a walker is your favorite doesn't mean that it's good for others who don't have the same cards that you do. Is one of the things that I get reminded all the time. I have all the cards. So people constantly say, guys, you have all the cards. That's easy for you to say to make that work, because you have all the cards to make that work. You're right. So this is why I included a bunch of key cards that are necessary for those walkers to really shine. I also made note of which walkers in here, like in Ajani Invigorate Leadership or Nissa World Waker, and even Jace Reawakened. They don't need much of anything else, that they are so powerful all on their own. They can do it without much more support. Those walkers are extremely strong. Garrick, I argue, just because creatures are in the meta right now that you should be getting and have gotten, he's going to take those and leverage the tar out of them. But if you have a build or a walker or an argument that you feel should put some of these walkers I have lower higher, I would love to hear it. Come prove your case. And I am never above taking your feedback and correcting my views on stuff, because at the end of the day, I want to make sure I'm playing this right and I'm giving the best advice that I possibly can. I am replaying Chronoclast right now, and I misjudged his secondary ability. His secondary ability is much better than I gave it credit for. The conversion and what you get out of it are solid. The rest of it, I'm pretty dead set on, because I feel that that's the only thing he's got, and if that's all he's got, there are other walkers that run that stuff much, much better, i.e. Mott and Jace Reawakened's not even in the same ballpark. He is 10 times better, 100 times better than that walker. Disagree? Come into the Discord and respectfully fight me. I'll always be listening to your opinions, and I always look forward to your feedback. With that said, my friends, I appreciate it. I know you could be anywhere in the world. You chose to spend this last hour or so with me here, last couple of hours, and it's appreciated. I hope that this was helpful for you if you're a newer player. If you're not already in the Discord, oh my goodness, there's a link below. Get into the Discord. We have some of the world's best players in this game. All happy to help offer advice and to give you personalized advice on this list, even because a number 5 walker might be better than a number 2 walker for you, depending on the cards that you have. So get into the Discord, let us know where you are in the game collection, what cards you have, and we'll ultimately give you the best advice we possibly can for that. With that said, my friends, until our next quest, which is the dual and tricolor walkers and the colorless walkers coming out next week, swords up, my friends.